We have guests with us on Hoax Calls impacting flights. We have Mishi Chaudhary, technology lawyer, founder, SFLC.in, and Captain Amit Singh, who's the founder, Safety Matters Foundation. Thank you to both of you for joining us on this important discussion. To you first, Mr. Singh, could you help us understand the impact of these hoax calls on airline operations and passenger safety? Unfortunately, as I was asking before, the consequences go far beyond delays. There are operational and financial impacts on the airlines, which are profound, and passengers, of course, experiencing stress and frustration as well. So take us through the impact and what protocols are in place for responding to these kind of threat calls.
Well, hoax is the outcome of a threat. So when a threat is received, it is treated as serious in nature as a real-time threat. So all the protocols are implemented, including security checks and monitoring of telephone calls, from where the caller ID, etc. From the airport side. From the operational side, of course, the crew is informed of the threat, if there is a specific threat or not, or is it a general threat. But the crew has to take it seriously as if it is a real threat. If they have the location of the bomb, which means as specific as that, then that is also informed to them so that they locate the bomb and isolate it from the passengers to a least affected area of the aircraft. If it goes off, then the aircraft should not be completely damaged. So you have certain areas in the aircraft where the bomb is supposed to be moved to. So all that operational protocol is done, and the aircraft is supposed to land as soon as possible. Since we do not know what kind of trigger is there on the bomb, because certain threats are generic in nature, that there is a bomb on board. Certain would be more specific. So it could be a pressure trigger or some other time-based trigger. So we don't know. So the idea is to land as soon as possible and get the passengers out. And now it depends on the route the aircraft is flying, the size of the aircraft. So like in the Air India case, it was a long-haul flight and a big aircraft, more number of passengers. And on the route, we have certain identified airports wherein in case of such an exigency, the aircraft is able to land. So it is not basically to look after the accommodation of the passengers, but the idea is to land the aircraft safely and get the passengers out safely. So that was done at adequate airports. They do not have enough facilities to house the passengers for a long time. If it is a smaller aircraft for a domestic flight on ground, so that is a lesser of a problem. But if the aircraft is in air, that becomes a more challenging situation to get the aircraft as soon as possible, coordinating basically communication with the aircraft, with the ground crew, the ATC, etc. Financial implications are quite high. Nobody has put a figure to it, but there is one FAA American figure of the late 80s, which if you translate it, it could amount to about 50 to 60 lakhs per diversion. Now, depending on the aircraft, if it is bigger than 80 to 90 lakhs. And normally when there's a bomb threat or such a situation, fighters are scrambled.
So it's quite a problem, quite an issue. We also have Mishi Chaudhary with us. Mishi, how easy is it to make these hoax calls as more and more vulnerable areas are getting targeted? I mean, we're seeing 10 flights that have been grounded in the last 48 hours. We've seen this with schools that were targeted recently. Of course, airlines in the past as well. But also in the past, we've seen cinema halls there too also, so how much is riding on such disruptions that we are seeing as far as, the kind of disruptions we are seeing, whether it's to school children, whether it's to airline flyers, the airlines particularly. Take us through how easy is it to make these threats, and how does one really get to know, the authenticity of these threats?
So as easy it is to communicate these days about anything. The prevalence of social media everywhere makes it definitely possible for you and me just to say something, tag airlines or tag institutions or organizations, as well as use any other form as well, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, phone calls have always been much easier. Now it's also much cheaper. And every means or every platform that is available for regular communication is also at the disposal of anyone who wants to play a prank with somebody. Now, all prank calls, of course, cannot be considered legally offensive. It depends on the magnitude of the crime. What crime are we committing? In the examples which we are discussing right now, of course, this, thankfully, it's a hoax call, but it does end up causing immense amount of financial damage plus inconvenience to the people who are subject to all of it. And you, as the speaker earlier said, Captain Singh said that until you can determine whether it is a real threat or a hoax threat, you do have to go through all the protocols. So because of ease of availability of medium of communication, it's also become much simpler. But it really depends upon the magnitude of the crime. Here, much more serious.
Mishi,
In other
one
ways,
more
not
question
so
that I
much.
wanted to ask. Given the increase in such incidents, Mishi, do you think there is need for stricter penalties for individuals making these kind of false threat calls? You are a technology lawyer. Do you think, given the number of incidents that have been taking place, should there be stricter penalties imposed so that it doesn't happen as often?
I think this is not so much a matter of technology per se, because technology is only facilitating something which could have been earlier also done by whatever was available. There is in law enough punishment that is available. There are several cases. If you go from 2017, 2019, 2022, up to 7 years of imprisonment or fines, which have been imposed by courts in India. And there are enough punishments that are available in law for now. The only element that has changed is that the ease of and people trying to hide behind certain anonymity that internet might offer. Somebody does not use their actual name, somebody just uses some made up stuff, and then it is difficult to pierce through that veil and get to the identity of the person. That has added a complication.
Right.
But for now, the law at least does provide an actual punishment if somebody does do certain things like that.
Okay.